Have you ever felt like life is trying to tell you something, but you just can't figure out what? As if there's an invisible force trying to guide you, yet you're unable to understand the signs? The truth is, there are clear signs that you're on the right path, but most people ignore these messages and end up falling back into stagnation. I've been through this myself. For a long time, I felt that something inside me wanted to change, but I resisted, until I realized that certain patterns in my life kept repeating, that my intuition was getting stronger, and that I needed to pay attention to what my unconscious was trying to show me. When I finally understood these signs, everything started making sense. Our unconscious is always trying to guide us. But if you don't know how to recognize these messages, you could spend years stuck in the same mistakes without realizing it. And I don't want that to happen to you. That's why, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to interpret these messages to transform your reality faster than you imagine. Stay with me until the end, because if these signs have been appearing in your life lately, it could mean you're much closer to a major awakening than you think. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, always emphasized that our unconscious is constantly trying to communicate with us. Whether through dreams, intuitions, or subtle shifts in our thoughts and emotions, it sends us clues about our growth and evolution. The problem is that most people ignore these signs and continue living on autopilot, repeating the same mistakes, trapped in the same cycles. But there comes a moment when the call of the unconscious becomes stronger, and that's when some people wake up. They realize that something inside them is changing, and that certain things that once made sense no longer seem as important. They feel their worldview shifting, but they don't always know what to do with this new awareness. And what if I told you that the very fact that you found this video might not be a coincidence? Jung called this synchronicity, the idea that certain events aren't just random but meaningful connections that arise at the right moment. Maybe you've arrived here because your mind is already searching for answers. Maybe your unconscious has guided you to this moment because something inside you is ready to awaken. Nothing happens by chance. When we are ready for change, the universe sends us signs to guide us. Small events, unexpected encounters, strange coincidences, all of these can be reflections of what's happening within us. And if you feel that something is shifting inside you, if you've been noticing unusual patterns or situations that seem to repeat a certain message, that might be proof that your unconscious is trying to show you something bigger. I invite you to pause for a moment and reflect. Has your unconscious been sending you signs for a long time, but you just haven't noticed? Let me know in the comments. And the first sign that you're on the right path is isolation. If there's one thing that happens to almost everyone going through a process of internal growth, it's the distancing from certain relationships. Maybe you've already felt that suddenly, some people no longer seem to fit into your life. Conversations that once flowed easily now feel superficial. You start to realize that certain relationships were based on habits and convenience rather than a true connection. This can feel strange at first. After all, these people have been a part of your life for so long. But Carl Jung explained that our unconscious seeks connections that align with our stage of evolution. And when you grow internally, some people simply stop resonating at the same frequency as you. This doesn't mean these people are bad, or that you need to cut all ties. It simply means that you are changing. If you used to care about certain topics, and now they no longer seem as relevant, if your worldview is expanding and some people seem to want to keep you stuck in your old self, that's a clear sign that your unconscious is guiding you towards something new. Many times, this distancing happens naturally. Interactions become less frequent, and your interests no longer align as they once did. And this can be uncomfortable because humans fear change. But know that this is not a mistake. This is part of the journey. However, it's important to understand that there's a difference between isolation that transforms and isolation that destroys. Distancing from some relationships can be a natural and even necessary process for your growth. But when that solitude lasts too long and starts turning into a sense of disconnection from the world, it can be a warning sign. Constructive isolation happens when you step back to get to know yourself better, to reflect on your life, to build a new version of yourself without external interference. It comes with a sense of clarity and self-discovery. You might miss some people, but deep down, you know that this time alone is making you stronger. Destructive isolation, on the other hand, occurs when the distance becomes a burden, when you feel like you're losing the desire to connect with others, when solitude stops being a choice and turns into a prison. You start avoiding conversations, feel misunderstood all the time, and may even enter a cycle of self-protection, believing that no one can truly understand you. This type of isolation doesn't strengthen, it weakens. That's why it's essential to pay attention to how you're dealing with this phase. Distance can be a sign of growth when it comes with reflection, renewal, and a feeling of reconnecting with yourself. But if it turns into a constant void, a sense of being lost or directionless, then maybe it's time to find balance. If you feel like you're drifting away from some people, don't fight it. Instead of trying to fit into places where you no longer belong, trust the process. New connections will emerge, more aligned with who you are becoming. But if this solitude is becoming a burden, don't ignore this sign. To help you understand this phase better, I've prepared a complete playlist to show you how to identify whether isolation is a path to transformation or if it's becoming a problem. You'll learn how to handle this phase in a healthy way and avoid letting it push you away from the world negatively. The playlist is in the video description. Don't miss it. Another common sign that you're on the right path is the feeling that things that once mattered now seem empty. Suddenly habits, routines, and even beliefs that used to guide your life start losing their meaning. Maybe you've already experienced this shift. Activities that once excited you now feel monotonous. Certain TV shows, music, or places you used to frequent no longer hold the same energy. This can be confusing at first because it feels like something inside you has simply shut off in relation to these things. Carl Jung explained that this happens because the unconscious is pushing us toward a new phase of development. When we're ready to grow, our mind starts letting go of things that no longer contribute to our evolution. It's a natural mechanism of internal renewal. The problem is that we often resist it. We try to force ourselves to feel the same excitement as before, thinking that something is wrong with us. But in reality, this is a sign of expanding consciousness. You're beginning to seek something deeper, something more meaningful. This might create some discomfort because the human mind craves familiarity. But if you're feeling this shift, trust the process. Instead of clinging to what no longer fulfills you, allow yourself to explore new interests, new ways of seeing the world. This is a strong indicator that you're evolving. Another powerful sign that you're on the right path is noticing that certain patterns keep repeating in your life. You begin to realize that some situations seem to happen over and over, as if you're stuck in a cycle that keeps returning. Maybe you keep attracting the same type of relationship, face similar challenges at work, or experience the same emotional struggles repeatedly. At first, this may seem like a coincidence, but Jung teaches us that the unconscious works with patterns and symbols. If something keeps repeating in your life, it's because there's a lesson there that hasn't been fully understood yet. The unconscious has a peculiar way of teaching us. If we don't learn a lesson the first time, it places us in a similar situation until we finally become aware of what needs to change. It's as if life is giving us multiple chances to understand a hidden aspect of ourselves. Many people interpret these cycles as bad luck or a cruel destiny, but in reality, they are opportunities for growth. The problem is that without this awareness, the tendency is to keep repeating the same behaviors while expecting different results. For example, imagine someone who always ends up in relationships where they feel rejected or undervalued. At first, they might think this happens because people are all the same or because they just have bad luck in love. But if we look closer, there may be a deep emotional pattern behind it. Perhaps this person grew up feeling like they had to work hard to be accepted, carrying the unconscious belief that they are not enough to be loved naturally. This belief shapes their behavior in relationships, leading them to choose partners who reinforce this narrative. As a result, the pattern keeps repeating, not because the person wants it to, but because their unconscious is still trying to resolve an issue that has never been addressed. Now, how do you break this cycle? The first step is to bring awareness to the pattern. If you notice that a situation keeps recurring in your life, ask yourself, what is this experience trying to teach me? And what belief or behavior of mine is contributing to this happening again? In the example of relationships, the solution isn't just to choose better, but to internally work on the belief of not being enough, reframing past experiences, and developing a new sense of self-worth. Another fundamental step is to act differently than you always have. If a pattern keeps repeating, it means that something in your way of reacting is fueling the cycle. Try making different choices, testing new approaches, and challenging your own expectations. Often, the simple act of stepping out of automatic behavior already begins to change the results. This can be uncomfortable because it forces us to confront truths about ourselves that we often prefer to avoid. But if you're noticing these repetitions, know that this is a great sign of progress. It means that your mind is already ready to integrate a new lesson and move forward. When you finally understand and resolve a pattern, it stops repeating, making room for a new phase in your life. One of the strongest signs that you're on the right path is the feeling that something bigger is calling you. Suddenly, an unexplainable urge arises to seek more knowledge, to understand yourself on a deeper level, to explore new ideas, and to see life with new eyes. You may have started taking an interest in topics that previously seemed irrelevant, such as spirituality, philosophy, psychology, or self-knowledge. You feel the need for answers to questions you didn't even know you had before. Carl Jung spoke of this phenomenon as part of the individuation process, the journey through which we become who we truly are. This desire to seek something greater doesn't appear out of nowhere. It is a clear sign that your consciousness is expanding, and that you are no longer satisfied with superficial answers. You sense that there is something deeper behind everyday life, and start questioning the reality you've always accepted without thinking. This can be both fascinating and unsettling because it means leaving behind old certainties and making room for new ways of seeing the world. Many people ignore this calling because it may seem abstract at first. But if you've been feeling this urge to seek something more, don't dismiss it. This is one of the clearest signs that your unconscious is pushing you toward a journey of discovery. You may not know exactly where this is leading you, but this initial discomfort is an indication that you are opening yourself up to a new phase of your life. The key here is to trust the process. Allow yourself to explore, read, learn, and talk to people who can expand your worldview. Many answers don't come immediately, but every step you take on this path brings you closer to a deeper understanding of yourself and your journey. This internal calling doesn't appear to just anyone. It arises for those who are ready to evolve. Another clear sign that you're on the right path is that your body starts reacting in unexpected ways. Many people think that internal transformation happens only in the mind, but Jung teaches us that the body and the unconscious are deeply connected. When we undergo a process of internal change, our body feels it before we're even fully conscious of what's happening. Maybe you've noticed that your energy has shifted. You may be feeling more tired than usual, even without major changes in your routine. You may find your insomnia increasing, or suddenly need more sleep than usual. Some people report feeling a pressure in their chest or an unexplained anxiety. Others, on the contrary, begin to feel an inexplicable peace, even in the face of challenges. All of these are physical signs that your mind is undergoing change. When we ignore the messages of the unconscious for too long, the body finds ways to force us to pay attention. If you've been feeling physical or emotional discomfort, instead of just looking for logical explanations, ask yourself, what inside me is trying to transform? What have I been repressing that is now coming to the surface? The body is wise. It picks up on changes before our rational mind does. Instead of fighting these sensations, observe them. They may be an indicator that you are aligning with a new version of yourself. Many people give up on personal evolution because they mistake these signs for something negative, when, in reality, they are proof that transformation has already begun. Another powerful sign that you're on the right path is the emergence of recurring dreams and strange symbols that seem to carry a hidden message. Jung dedicated much of his studies to dream analysis and believed that dreams are the most direct form of communication from the unconscious. When we go through an internal transformation, our subconscious mind sends us symbolic images that often don't make sense at first, but carry deep meaning. Perhaps you've noticed that certain dreams keep repeating, even in different contexts. Maybe unknown places frequently appear, certain people show up without explanation, or you experience intense sensations within the dream. This isn't random. The unconscious uses symbols because it speaks a language different from the rational mind. It doesn't communicate through direct explanations, but rather through metaphors, images, and sensations. If you've been having intense dreams or noticing symbolic patterns appearing in your daily life, this may be a sign that your mind is trying to show you something important. Pay attention to these details. A dream may contain an answer you haven't found while awake. A specific scene may carry a message about something you need to change. Sometimes, the simple act of reflecting on a dream is enough to bring valuable insights into your journey. And it's not just during sleep that the unconscious manifests itself. In daily life, certain visual patterns, recurring numbers, unexpected encounters, and even coincidences can be signs that your mind is trying to get your attention. If you constantly see images of water in your dreams, it may reflect your emotional state, a sign that your emotions are flowing intensely, or that something within you needs purification. If you dream of doors, this may indicate imminent changes, a call to new opportunities, or fear of the unknown. Falling dreams may reflect a fear of losing control, while those where you fly may symbolize liberation and overcoming barriers. Teeth falling out often relate to insecurity and fear of transformation, while being chased can indicate that you're running from something within yourself. Jung said that ignoring dreams is like refusing a letter from your own unconscious. If you are receiving these messages, don't dismiss them. Recording your dreams can be a powerful tool for understanding the patterns of your mind. Often we can only see the deeper meanings after writing them down and analyzing the recurrence of certain symbols over time. A dream journal is a simple yet extremely effective method. As soon as you wake up, write down everything you remember without trying to interpret it right away. Over time, patterns begin to emerge, and what once seemed like a random sequence of images transforms into a clear map of what your unconscious is trying to show you. This could be one of the clearest signs that you are going through a deep transformation and need to pay attention to what is emerging within you. Now that we've explored dreams and unconscious symbols, let's talk about the feeling of discomfort mixed with certainty. One of the biggest indicators that you are growing and can't go back. The last and perhaps most important sign that you're on the right path is the sensation of discomfort, mixed with an inexplicable certainty that you can't turn back. You feel that you're changing, that something inside you is transforming, but at the same time, you no longer fit into who you used to be. It's as if a door has been opened, and no matter how challenging it is to move forward, going back is no longer an option. This is one of the most paradoxical aspects of personal growth. Many people believe that being on the right path means feeling completely secure, without doubts or fears. But Jung teaches us that true evolution happens precisely when we feel discomfort. That's because all change involves stepping out of our comfort zone, breaking old patterns, and embracing the unknown. If you feel that something inside you is restless, that your old self no longer makes sense, but at the same time, you don't yet know exactly where you're going, this is a positive sign. This emotional limbo is the space where true transformation happens. This is where your new identity begins to take shape. Many people give up at this moment because they mistake this discomfort for a mistake. But the truth is, there is no growth without feeling the instability of change. If you feel this mix of anxiety and excitement, fear and curiosity, keep going. It means you are evolving, and your unconscious has already begun guiding you toward a new path. Now that you know the signs that indicate your mind is pushing you toward a new phase, the next step is learning how to interpret these messages and use them to your advantage. Because simply recognizing the signs is not enough. True transformation happens when you learn to interpret them correctly and take action. Many people notice these changes but don't know what to do with this information. They feel that something is different, that their perception of the world has changed, but they remain stuck in doubt, fear, and hesitation. Jung teaches us that the first step in interpreting the signs of the unconscious is to consciously pay attention to them. This means that instead of ignoring repetitive patterns, strange dreams, or feelings of discomfort, you should observe them as clues to something bigger. The unconscious never sends messages without reason. It is always trying to guide you toward a path that you haven't yet realized rationally. A simple yet highly effective way to start deciphering these signs is through reflective writing. Take a notebook and write about the changes you've been feeling. Which habits have lost meaning? Which patterns are repeating? What dreams or intuitions have been arising? Don't try to find immediate answers. Just record the signs and observe them over time. The simple act of writing is already a process that helps your conscious mind start connecting with these messages. Another powerful practice is what Jung called dialogue with the unconscious. In moments of silence, close your eyes and imagine that you are having a conversation with your deeper mind. Ask yourself questions like, what is this dream trying to show me? What does this repetitive pattern mean for me? Why is this feeling of discomfort appearing? At first it may feel strange, but over time, your mind will start responding in unexpected ways. Through sudden insights, forgotten memories, or even new emotions that surface. Dreams are one of the most direct ways the unconscious communicates, and Jung believed that ignoring them means wasting valuable messages that the mind is trying to send us. Often, when we are going through an internal change, our dreams become more intense, strange, or repetitive. This happens because, while awake, our rational mind tries to ignore or minimize certain thoughts and emotions. But when we sleep, those barriers come down, and the unconscious speaks freely. If you want to better understand the signs you're receiving, start paying attention to your dreams. It doesn't matter if, at first glance, they seem confusing or meaningless. The unconscious doesn't communicate directly. It uses symbols, metaphors, and images that reflect what's happening inside you. An effective method for interpreting your dreams is to keep a dream journal. As soon as you wake up, write down everything you remember, without trying to analyze it at the moment. Over time, you will start to notice patterns, Maybe the same symbol appears frequently, or certain emotions repeat themselves. Jung called these archetypes, universal images that appear in dreams to represent deep aspects of our psyche. For example, if you dream of doors opening, it may indicate that new opportunities are emerging. If you dream that you are trapped or lost, you might be resisting some internal change. Unknown. People in dreams can represent parts of yourself that you have yet to recognize. But to understand what each symbol means for you, it is important to feel the emotion of the dream. How did you feel in it? Fear, curiosity, relief? Emotion is the key to interpreting the message. If you have been dreaming frequently and feel that these dreams carry a deeper meaning, pay attention. Your unconscious may be trying to show you what your conscious mind has yet to grasp. One of the most effective ways to interpret the signs your mind is sending is through silence and meditation. In today's world, we are constantly surrounded by stimuli, notifications, conversations, tasks, and worries that consume our attention. This prevents us from hearing what our unconscious is trying to tell us. But Jung believed that introspection is fundamental to accessing inner wisdom. Many people think that meditating means emptying the mind, but in reality, it is about observing thoughts without judgment. If you want to understand the signs of your unconscious, develop the habit of setting aside a few minutes each day to simply sit in silence. No phone, no distractions, just breathing and paying attention to what arises in your mind. At first, it may seem difficult. You might feel anxious, restless, or even find yourself thinking about 1,000 things at once. But this is normal. What matters is noticing the patterns. What kind of thoughts arise most frequently? What emotions appear when you are alone with your mind? A simple exercise to deepen this connection is the meditation of the inner question. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what is my unconscious trying to show me? Then, just observe what comes up. Do not try to force answers. Just trust that your mind will reveal what is necessary at the right moment. Another powerful technique is active visualization, an approach Jung himself used. In this practice, you imagine entering a symbolic space, like a garden, a temple, or even a dark room. Gradually, observe what appears in this setting. Is there a person, an object, or a door? How do you feel in this environment? This can provide deep insights into what your unconscious is trying to show you. Silence and meditation are not just relaxation practices. They are powerful tools for listening to what often goes unnoticed amidst the noise of daily life. If there is one thing the unconscious does masterfully, it is repeating patterns until we finally see them. Jung believed that nothing happens by chance. Everything we experience is a reflection of what is inside us. This means that if you have been facing the same challenges repeatedly, whether in relationships, work, or personal life, there is something there that needs to be understood. Think for a moment. Have you ever wondered why certain problems seem to follow you throughout life? As if you were always reliving the same story, just with different people or settings. This is not a coincidence. The unconscious places us in the same situations until we learn the lesson it is trying to teach us. If you want to correctly interpret the signs your mind is sending, start observing which patterns repeat in your life. They may appear in different areas. In relationships, do you always attract the same type of person or face the same conflicts? In career, do you feel like you're always stuck in the same work problems or never manage to move forward? And in your emotions, are there recurring feelings, such as frustration, insecurity, or fear, that appear from time to time? The key to breaking these cycles is bringing awareness to what is happening. Instead of asking, why does this always happen to me? Shift your approach and ask, what is this situation trying to teach me? This small adjustment in how you think can completely transform how you deal with challenges. Another powerful tool for identifying patterns is recording recurring events. Whenever you notice that you are going through something familiar, write down the details. How you felt, how you reacted, and what the outcome was. After a few weeks, review these notes and see if there is something in common. Often, the simple act of writing and reflecting already helps bring hidden perceptions to light. Now that you have identified the signs from your unconscious and started noticing repetitive patterns in your life, the next step is to consciously act to transform these perceptions into real growth. Many people recognize that they are undergoing an internal change, but end up feeling paralyzed, not knowing how to move forward. The secret lies in small daily changes, because it is through them that your mind begins to adjust to a new reality. Jung said that the unconscious does not work with abrupt changes, but rather with progressive integration. This means you do not need to change everything at once. Just adjust your routine to reflect the new version of who you are becoming. If you used to live on autopilot, now is the time to make choices more aligned with your intuition. A simple way to strengthen this connection with the unconscious is to expose yourself to new stimuli. Read books that spark your interest, explore new environments, meet people who bring different perspectives than yours. Your unconscious is always absorbing information from the external world, and the more you expand your vision, the more tools it will have to work within you. Another essential practice is mindfulness in the present moment. Often, we are so caught up in the past or anxious about the future that we fail to notice what is happening now. Try dedicating a few minutes of your day to observing your surroundings, paying attention to details that would normally go unnoticed. This not only strengthens your perception, but also helps your mind better identify the signals it is receiving. And finally, remember that transformation does not happen overnight. Growth is a continuous process, and every small change you implement creates a cumulative effect that, over time, leads to great evolution. Trust the process. If you are already noticing these signs, it means something inside you has already begun to awaken. Now, it is up to you to move forward and allow this transformation to complete itself. If you've made it this far, you already know that the signs from the unconscious do not appear by chance. They are messages your own mind is sending to guide you toward your evolution. And now that you understand what they mean, it is up to you to decide what to do with this information. The truth is that most people feel these signs but choose to ignore them. They continue living on autopilot, repeating the same cycles, wondering why nothing changes. But you don't have to be one of those people. You have already realized that something inside you is transforming. You already know that you can't simply go back to the old version of yourself. And now you have the opportunity to awaken to something greater. If these signs are appearing in your life, it means you are on the right path. Even if it seems challenging, even if doubts still exist, trust the process. Because all of this is part of your growth journey. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these signs have you already noticed in your life? Write in the comments, I am on the right path, so I know that this message reached you. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might also need to hear this. See you in the next video.